Yeah, and we'll have an island where they.
Oh, boy. Dishwasher people.
Morning. And so is anybody else on, you know? Not yet. Okay, all right. We didn't hear from Stacy at all. Fran,
I never heard back whether she was coming.
Okay.
I thought Karen was gonna be on Zoom though.
okay.
They might have been trying them. And then
Started late.
Yeah.
There's one, Emerson.
Okay, we have a forum, so we can go ahead.
There's Karen.
Karen, awesome. Okay, call meeting to order. Approvals of the mid-July minutes.
Move to approval.
Second. I second.
Who was the first? I'm sorry.
I wasn't here.
Sorry, I was here. I read them. Okay. Visitors' comments.
We have a visitor.
Or you, sir. Doing good. How about yourself?
You want me to take?
Yeah.
Try my. Well, I'm Dick Peterson, no relation to this guy, but that I know of anyway. I represent the Rotary Club of Webster Groves. The reason I'm here this morning, I'm not selling pancake tickets. I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking for anything other than some feedback. This coming year, 2024, our Rotary Club here in Webster celebrates its 100th anniversary. That's a pretty significant achievement. In order to do that, we're trying to come up with some idea of things to do to kind of memorialize the occasion. One idea that's been floated out rather strongly is to put a post clock, if you know what that is, and I'll show you some pictures here in, I'll call it the heart of Webster, more specifically down at Lockwood and Gore, and even more specifically in front of the US Bank in the sidewalk. Now, before we go any further with our plans, we thought it'd be a better idea. I spent 11 years in the city council, so I realize how things work. The first step is City Hall. So a couple of weeks ago, I met with Mara Perry, discussed what we thought would be a good idea, just to get a little feel of what she thought of the idea. And she's very good at keeping her cards close. But her one very strong recommendation is to come and say to you all, since it's your business district, is it a good idea? Is it a bad idea? Should we forget it? And that's why I'm here. The clock we're talking about is you want to pass it around. I need those back to sell my fellow club. The clock we're talking about is ranging anywhere from like 12'6" up to 16 or 18 feet. We see it being erected on the sidewalk, almost dead center of where North Court comes into Lockwood. I realize there's some big flower pots or whatever you want to call them, those big basins there. And we want to know, is it something that would fit the center, whatever you want to call it, the atmosphere of Old Webster? I've spent a lot of time in the city and I have a great deal of admiration for it. I don't want our club to be one that's like something there that nobody wants. And the worst thing that could happen is we go ahead and someone says, well, you didn't even ask us. You didn't give us an opinion. That's strictly why we're here, or why I'm here. So I will keep it brief. I appreciate any feedback that I can get. I know it's on short notice that you're even looking at this. I think enough of you.
Is it a 3-sided clock? How many side faces are on the clock?
Four.
So one
Four.
would face
We're looking at facing right down North Door,
dead center.
each sidewalk. And I don't know if the bank wants to put up with that fourth face, but we could always put a plate across that fourth place. Now it's a rather, you can see it's a rather large box. We're going to need a pretty substantial foundation to put it in. And that's one, I'm an engineer. One thing that bothers me a little bit is, are we going to have sufficient space under that sidewalk I'm sure there are a few pipes under there, utilities that might interfere with that. So that's one thing we have to explore, but I don't want to go through any fascinations until we get some feel that it's a good idea, or you could say, hit the road.
And then here's a picture of the bank. Is the height? How does that height equate to the US Bank sign?
I've not gone that far yet, but that's a great question.
So, Dick, can I ask a question? Can you give us your reasoning or the Rotary Club's reasoning for a clock? How does it connect with your 100-year celebration?
That's a very good question. I'm not sure how I really want to answer. I think we want something that says, hey, we've been part of the city, an integral part of the city. Our members have been very, very involved in the city. We want something that people, as they walk to the restaurants or whatever, can say, hey, there's a Rotary Club. They've been around, adding to the city's character. And just something name recognition.
And so you would have the Rotary Club's designation on the bottom, 100-year celebration,
Yes.
2024, and that would
Yeah.
be memorialized on the
One
bottom.
of those pictures shows Rotary International licenses these things. Shows actually a Rotary seal in the clock face itself. Now, if we go to the smaller one, the clock face itself faces 24 inches in diameter. The larger ones get up to 36 inches. So you can imagine the size of that
Yeah.
box up above. And how does it relate to the bank? That's the thing that we'll have to look at
The,
very carefully.
how tall are our light poles? So probably like 12 feet, I would think, maybe. I would think they're about 12. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can see that light pole
This one here.
right there, right next to it.
sorry about that. So, and these would be 12 feet? Is
Well,
it-
these would be, the shortest one we're looking at is 12'6". That's the top.
would be fairly large.
It can go on up to about 18.
What property would it sit on? Would it sit on US Banks or on the sidewalk?
Sidewalk, and I think that's why we have to address this right here. Now, we have to obviously go for permitting, we have to show plans, everything else, but before we get to that level, I want to see if it's a great idea.
And this would be a gift to the city? This would be a gift to the city?
Yes, oh yeah.
What about maintaining it? Worst thing about a clock is when it's not working. And
Right.
everybody looks at it and go,
No, I think what we would do, and the company that we're looking at is Verdon. They've been around for a gazillion years. Verdon's out of Cincinnati. They do offer a ongoing preventive maintenance type of thing,
would that be the city's cost to maintain
our
our
cost.
Is there street parking right there?
No.
That's in the intersections. There's no.
That's it, yeah, that's. Yeah, the ideal spot would be right about where that center pot is, but I know that's not gonna fly, so.
Pots, they move around quite a bit. You put 2 pots and
Yeah,
one on each side, so.
I don't need an answer today. I don't need a vote. All I need is a smile or a ground.
I'll put it out there. I like the idea. I think it's interesting. I think people would say, let's meet at the clock tower and then.
Well, that was kind of.
You know, it's kind of-
Exactly, you hit it on. That's what we
It
thought.
becomes a landmark. in a
It
way.
is.
Especially the size you're proposing. That's
Yeah.
unmissable. You can't miss it.
Now, we would have to latch on to the city power. I'm sure that will come at some cost. I don't know what that will be, but it's low voltage. Those clock faces, we have like they're backlit, so at night you'll have a light dim face that you can read it. So.
All the kids won't have an excuse if they're supposed to be home at midnight.
We're trying to eliminate that.
No excuse.
That doesn't work, Eddie, but
I like it. I would say, probably the one thing that would be concerning me is it just feels like it'd be still be pretty snug right in there.
say, I'm sorry.
Be snug,
Be
like,
close to the
be
curb.
close to the curb or close to the building, just not.
Can it be set back? You mean, is that what you're asking? If you can-
Well, I think if you set it back, I think it'd be
It's on
worse.
US, well, it's
I
on
think
US Bank property.
But it's
too.
not gonna be any more in the way than that light. you know, that's right there.
Yeah, I think
mean,
the one
think,
we're looking at, the base itself is like 12 inches.
Except on like a light pole, it's not.
Put it on any kind of a foundation, you're looking at probably at the minimum of 18 by 18 chunk of concrete down below the ground.
Anybody else have any comment?
Would there be any possibility to even have that curb come out in the street more, or is because that's an intersection, it's done?
Yeah,
I mean, I think that would.
We can look at that
Maybe
engineering,
possibly.
yeah, so. We
So there,
certainly
yeah, there
could.
aren't cars driving that. There
No,
shouldn't be.
there shouldn't be. There shouldn't be, right?
Well, there's some-
So that, it actually might make more of a balanced area for it. That's a city.
Yeah, come.
It would
Bump out.
You could put it in the center of it better if you had a little more concrete in front of it.
one of my next stops is to talk to the people in Public Works. Because I'm gonna need some idea of what's under that sidewalk, right? That might preclude the whole idea.
And then, yeah.
Well, that's Bill. That's what we do. And what's under the sidewalk on the
I was gonna say,
highway?
I was gonna say no.
Okay,
Yeah.
there
That's
are,
more
And then
conversation.
so there are some utilities underneath the,
Yeah, so
the, 6x6 bricks there, and there's some utilities out, 2 or 3 feet from the curb, I would say.
yeah, there's a,
The power source for that light is I believe it's still 220 power. That is just 2 strands and for the entire Webster district. So power may be an issue. I can tell you that.
we would need a step down transformer to take it from 277 to 180. And there's a 4-inch water line that runs right at the curb, it's about 3 feet out.
Out in the
After
street.
people were building there.
Well, it keeps breaking, it needs to be replaced at some point, but yes.
It's out in the street though. right?
Yes,
It's-
2.5, 3 feet in the street.
So if they brought more concrete out, it would go over there.
I like it. The only thing is that, light bullets right there. I think that would need to be moved, adjusted, relocated. Yeah, it does not, I mean, if you put one on either side of the bank, we need more light there, so you need 2 of them. But where it's sitting right now, it would be, it wouldn't
It would be
look right.
unbalanced.
Yeah. That would be my only comment. Other than that, I like the idea.
First, the next big hurdle is, how much can we afford as a club, and that's. And I wanted to get this resolved first, but we'll move on.
One other thing I would take under consideration is. The rule say, you know, cars just randomly drive through restaurants, drive through pots, you know, and so. And looking at these pictures, I like the idea of a bigger base. You know, that the car hits maybe the base versus
Rather than,
takes that
rather
skinny
than.
block, right?
Okay.
So what are your thoughts, Joe?
I like that idea of a little pull out. Pull out there and having it
Even like
3 feet out, you know?
maybe a seating area with a couple benches on each side.
I don't know if that big, but something.
I definitely see the opportunity to be a landmark, something that people go,
Yes.
oh, at the clock, we'll meet at the clock and decide which restaurant we're gonna go to, that kind of thing. I think it becomes a known item right here, right? And if it can
Tent
be,
space.
what's that?
Tent space.
Oh, let's not go there. So thank you, Dick. That was,
Well, fine, thank you for your time.
it's exciting that the
Yeah.
Rotary's considering this.
This brings back memories. I spent 11 years on the council. Most of the work was done in this room, not there, so. And I don't. think
That's
that-
where all the drama.
Hey, some comment?
The drama's in that room.
The drum is in that room here.
Stacy was unmuted. I just didn't know if she had.
Okay, got it. All right.
Stacy?
Hi, Stacy.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for thinking of us to put this. That's,
Yeah, down here. Thank you.
yeah.
She was saying, Dick, thank you for
Okay.
considering
Thanks again.
Old Webster for your.
Thank you.
Adios.
Thank you.
Okay, old business. Parks Department staff communication.
So I met with, following up with everyone, hi everyone, met with Scott Davis last week. He and the city manager and I will have another meeting this week coming up. But Scott did indicate that for all the plans, so next year and all these types of things, we'll put things in writing, what the Parks Department plans to do, and then have communication with you all about what those plans are and such. And that the city manager agreed that, should we take a different tack to the city, we'll pause the decision and have a chance to come back with you. May have to call a special meeting in order to meet our timetables, but so essentially, I think, the resolution is they both watched the meeting that we had. They both heard the concerns and those conversations, and so we'll do as we said and increase our communication back with you and to you. I don't know that will always mean we agree, right? But the point of the communication and the plans in place that you can see and where all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed, in the right spot where we all either agree on or at least everyone is communicated to about what those plans will be.
Is there a chance Scott could come and present to us?
Certainly,
Just a broader plan or broader thoughts of what he sees for the area, and then we can talk with him about where that fits with our meshes with our plans.
Yeah.
Needs.
certainly.
I mean, we want to have a dialogue,
Sure.
a nice dialogue with Scott, not a combative one. Stacy's got her hand up. I think.
Stacy?
I was under the impression that Parks doesn't make decisions for the old Webster Business District, that it actually needs to go through us and then through city council. I went back through some of the bylaws of what our taxing district advisory board is. And it does have to go through city council. We do have the right to speak on it. It doesn't bypass us.
Well, nothing bypasses you. You have a right to make any recommendation you choose and such. The decision under the charter, the city council doesn't make tactical decisions on where a pot will be and such like that. That is all under the city charter, regardless of what the bylaws of the district say. And the bylaws don't even mean anything anymore, just so you know. The bylaws are
they
the
don't?
ordinances that we haven't had bylaws in place and operable for the district in some time on the city side. The ordinance chapter 4, Emerson, I think it's chapter 4. The ordinances of the city, are your bylaws about how this group operates, and along with the state statutes. But the city council, Emerson and others on the city council don't make a decision on, put the trash can here, put the trash can there. That's all comes back to staff. Now, I think that's what we're talking about here, is that's a staff level determination of that tactic, the communication with you about, is that tactic fitting with the character and the nature of what the district wants to do. And so that's,
I understand that, but what I'm saying is it's supposed to come through us to discuss about where the trash can is going to go. It does not, the staff doesn't just decide and it happen.
well, I don't think, I think there's every opportunity, and we're indicating that we're going to ask you in that, but there's no compulsion on the city's part that we have to come to you to do that. This is
Correct,
functionally,
but if we disagree with something, it does go to city council.
that's correct, yes.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. No, it needs to come to us. And then we have to decide if we agree with you or if we don't. And if we don't, then it does go to city council.
I mean, we agreed to putting that planter in if it was close by the stairs and it left us room to work. We agreed to that. And then for some reason, it became the entire thing. I mean, I don't I mean, if city council said that's what they wanted, I understand. But I just don't understand how that much more money went into that project, ruined something that we said, we only want this if it's close to the stairs. And they spent much more money. As a Webster citizen that pays taxes, why do you spend more money that nobody wanted this? I mean, that just doesn't make sense. How some staff person made a decision to enlarge that, spend more money, it went over us and city council.
It never went to city council.
Right, it did.
And it should have gone to city council because it was a vote at this table in the bylaws. And yes, the bylaws do matter. They were created for a reason.
That's correct. Stacy,
Okay,
I
so
don't
you
disagree with you,
don't
but the bylaws were
Okay.
extinguished in December with your knowledge. We told you about this, that the ordinances were changing. And we gave you those copies. So you can't now claim old laws apply when we told you new ones were coming. So so I'm sorry, but we gave you all that. That has been discussed. Okay, the ordinances are what they are now.
So
Tim, I don't, just real quickly, I don't disagree about the size and the scope. I just want to be very clear. That was a park grant from the Parks Commission. So it was not Webster money that paid for that project. Now, that said, Webster time went into it, so there was some, I agree, but I don't know. Again, this is part of our conversation with Parks about the size and the scope of the concrete park. And I know we talked about that last meeting as well, so.
Yes, but that should, even if it was a grant, it still needed to come through us and needed to get some
Because
type of
we
feedback from
talked
us
about a
in
small
front of the
scope.
city.
We specifically said we didn't want anything that went too far out to ruin that area. I mean, that's what we voted on. That's what we said.
And it
and-
needs to be fixed. I mean, I don't know what I need to do. Do I need to go to City Hall and request to speak with City Hall and tell them exactly why this is important? And it's not even this, it's the future of this town. It's, where does it end? Like,
Can we request Scott to come to our meeting and have a discussion?
Absolutely, we can. I mean, I don't think the Parks Department, doesn't seem to be that we're at the Parks Department stage here anymore, so. Councilmember Smith has heard your statements, Stacy and others here. I mean, we can certainly bring this up. I won't speak for the council, so I certainly won't to that. I will again come back to though, I think we need to manage our expectations here. Your words are not directing words to the city. They are recommending words. To the city.
Okay.
I understand.
No,
Let me-
no.
let me- Yes, they are. That is the law. You don't have direction power by the charter or the state statutes. You have recommendation power. That's what we talked about the last meeting.
yeah, for City Hall, not for
Yes,
parks, for City Hall.
We're talking
For
to
all
council.
city property, including the ones in the Webster Business District, my friend.
We make recommendations to city council. This was not through city council. This was through parks directly. They passed city council and they bypassed us. That is much different than the overall what we're discussing.
I think what happened here, and I could be very wrong, but it just seems like there was lack of communication and Parks went ahead and had a grant that they had a vision of putting it in. And it seems like to me, in my opinion, that they just didn't get our voice, our thoughts were not communicated to them through thoroughly, is what I'm getting.
Or if they were, they weren't reacted on.
Well, that could be. I would hope that somebody wouldn't just blatantly do something, just disregard. But
Well,
it could be.
but in Ron, and I think that's what Stacy's saying there too. Who knows what happens when we walk out of our business this afternoon and something has just shown up on something that we knew nothing about. Because they got a grant and decided that that's what he wanted to do. I
And
mean, what keeps that from happening?
Who's managing parks? Who is managing parks?
it's Scott Davis. So
But no, Scott Davis. No, who manages Scott Davis?
City manager.
So the city manager manages Scott Davis. Who manages the city manager? The city hall, city council. This was supposed to go through city council. Our voices are that we gave our opinions on, we're supposed to go and be considered at city council for this. That did not happen. That's the problem. We advised against this. Because we advised against it, it was supposed to go through city council. Scott does not make that decision. City council makes the decision. We advised against it. That was never brought to city council.
If city council wanted it and they said it overrid us, that's totally fine. I got no problem in the world if city council said, this is what we want. That there are elected officials and we're appointed to advise them. So if city council wants it, I'm on board with whatever.
I went back through, I never saw it brought up at city council for the last 6 meetings.
It was not. This issue is not
Okay,
one
I
that,
went through, I mean, I spent hours going through city council to see when this was brought up. It was not ever brought up to city council. Why are we an advisory board if what we're advising is not being brought up to city council. That is a huge problem.
I appreciate all of what you've said. There are multiple decisions that do not go to city council under the city charter that are direct to staff as tactical decisions. This one was fumbled. Not disputing that. Not disputing that.
So it needs to be
Emerson,
fixed. It needs to go back to city council and it needs to be fixed. We advised, we asked, we gave reasoning behind it. It was never brought to city council. It needs to be brought up at city council and it needs to be fixed. Do I need to go into the next city council meeting and have this discussion at city council?
I'm gonna turn to Councilmember Smith. He normally reports on old Webster business stuff, so. Councilmember, how would you like it brought up at council?
Well, from what I'm understanding, it's the process needs to be laid out and determine how you guys need to get something done. I would say I would put it on the agenda for a work session to get that understanding. You know, do you make a recommendation to the city council, then the city council make a resolution or pass whatever we need to do. I don't know where, from what I'm understanding, it appears that Scott made a decision to do something without input from you guys. The input you wanted, you didn't agree with it. Is that correct?
Correct. It's for our parking pad entry that we use for an entry point for events that we do. It's our only parking, it's our only section in this entire, well, I don't know how long this is, a mile maybe, of the old Webster Business District that we're able to have events at, have information booths, anything. And we brought that up when they brought this grant to us, which we weren't even told at that point it was a grant. We were just told that they were looking to make it more beautiful. They were looking to beautify it. And I brought that up and Tim and everybody at this table agreed. We need that for a centrally located meeting spot. It's very important to our district. And we are agreed that they can do something, but please keep it small so we can still fit a 10 by 10 tent on the pad. And next thing you know, the whole pad was ripped out.
Okay. Eric, let's make.
So I thank you, Councilmember Smith. We'll make sure it gets on the agenda. I just want to clarify, it wasn't just beautification. It's part of the city's sustainability goals to remove impervious concrete and place pervious spaces in the area. So there is a broader city policy there that is in place. But again, we're not disagreeing with the concerns you have raised in any way. And Councilmember, we can put it on the agenda. To be clear, we did bring this to the council. You did exactly as Stacy said. That was your recommendation to the city. And that was my understanding of the plan. Obviously, concrete got ripped up, new stuff got put in, not according to the understanding that I had of the plan either. That all happened between one of your meetings and another meeting. This project was originally going to be down at the Dewey's, down by Dewey's Pizza. The landlord, or the property owner there did not want to sell an easement to the city for that space. So hence why it was moved. So I'll just give you the whole background there in some short synopsis. But Councilmember, we can put it on the work session agenda.
Good, thank you. And we'll get back with you guys.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
we'll make sure the folks here know when that is scheduled, so you can all attend or as you wish.
Thank you.
Would it also be helpful if I give you a list of everything we use that parking pad for and what we had discussed to do in the future with it? 'Cause we actually talked about putting a wayfinder there at one point. And this would have been a great place for that clock tower too. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, it'll be helpful for me, whatever information that you want to submit and with your comments of what we think should have happened. So that we have that documented as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, decorative parking sign update.
It looks around.
We'll just move the meeting along, okay? I think we've spent a lot of time on stuff already, so we can skip that one.
All right,
We'll work on it.
Rooftop lighting.
rooftop lighting update.
I'm gonna do the same. only because I was at the hospital yesterday and didn't have a chance to pull all the numbers together, so.
So decorative lighting holiday update. So after our meeting a couple weeks ago, it was proposed that we go down and take a look at the poles coming up from McKnight, Kirkham, I'm sorry, Kirkham, but up McKnight. Rock Hill, sorry. It's the same road, if I just, different changes. But up to Rock Hill, up into our business district, there's two poles that are ours that have electricity to them. That if we decide to decorate those would be decorated. The city has agreed or proposed that they would pick up the other 4 that is not in our district. Fran sent out some stuff yesterday afternoon that had some pictures of stuff with some pricing. And did anyone have a chance to look at any of that?
I did not see that.
I saw it.
There's some cool stuff.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah. It just, just like everything else in this world, it just seems expensive.
I think it has like a 5-year life expectancy, so it's.
Yeah, so I guess in that, yeah, if I can wrap my head around that, then it's better. But I guess since no one's really looked at it, I would say that out of all those things that Fran sent, I would think if we did decide to do it, the simpler the better for what they were. And it would also match our regular poles that don't have lights on them. There's one that she sent out that had just some basic. You don't have an option to pull that email she sent out, do you?
I don't think I got the email.
Okay.
Did not.
So.
Did not.
Okay.
Is it just the
It's,
core
but
catalog?
it's the same one that I sent out to.
So basically, there's one of the options, which was, of course, one of the least expensive ones, was just wrapping around a pole, basically with some garland and some lights and, I think with a bow at the top, no different than what kind of we do. And that's the one I was like, okay, that could kind of work, still seem not inexpensive, but over 5 years.
And these would be on the poles on Rock Hill.
On the Rock Hill, there are only 2 of them in our business district. It's an entry level into our business district, and
Now, not to pin other districts against each other. But Old Orchard is going to be doing this on their new poles, and it's not the whole district either. It's just their new ones, so it's like a similar thing, entrance to the district kind of thing.
So from.
They're from
From
Dale
Dale.
to Murdoch.
Sale, right, with all the new light poles.
Right, you got 10 poles there that have power.
Just thought you wanted to know.
It'll be on all of them.
Yes, 10, yeah.
Well, that'd be a good thing, right? That would be
It's
good,
just
yes.
2 poles, right? 2 poles.
Well, there's 6 poles in total. 2 of them are in your district. The other 4 are have power that are just outside the boundaries, so the city would have to pick up the cost of that, but obviously we don't want to have 2 different looks, in that tiny little span, so.
And are the other ones on Lockwood that the city would do? Is that where the other?
No, they're all on Rock Hill,
Top of the hill.
from
where are the other
essentially
4 then?
Oak Avenue down to Kirk.
So it'd just
They're all
be,
next to each
it'd be lighting up the hill.
Yeah,
Correct.
And what we
Yeah.
talked about in the meeting was, what I kind of mentioned last meeting was, when we brought this up, was. It's not really in our business district, isn't really gonna add, and I brought up the fact that, if you look at the sculpture park. When it went in, I was thinking, but I think now that you come up from Kirkham, up Gore, it's nice. It kind of does give a lot better entry. Into that area than I ever thought it would. And so I drive through there and smile versus it used to just be.
But if you're coming up Gore, you're going to the center of Old Webster. If you're
Right.
coming up Rock Hill, you could be going on to the country club.
Absolutely, it could be. Yeah, you could be bypassing our whole district.
I would say maybe the majority of people going up the hill bypasses.
Probably do.
Well,
Maybe it'll make
but,
them turn left.
well, it also, if you're coming off 40, coming from anywhere out of there, you come down McKnight into Rock Hill. Coming to Webster and a Webster event or anything like that, you are gonna see that.
Yeah, if you use Rock Hill, but some people cut into Gore. And come up Gore, from Rock Hill.
I
Some do, but I mean,
personally,
if you're going
I
to
personally
Parkland-
would rather see us spend the money doing garland over the street where we put the banner going into the business district if we're really gonna discuss it. At
I think,
Rockwood and Rock Hill.
I think the garland is more impactful for the area, because it's directly in the area.
Yeah,
Versus, I feel this is just a little bit outside of where we want the impact.
I agree.
Especially considering how expensive it is.
There was a cheap option, which I forgot to mention to you all last week, and that's simply, we could just buy standard Christmas lights and wrap them in the garland down the pole. You know what I mean? And just,
Yeah.
you know, you go to Home Depot, you get string Christmas lights, you know, you
Yeah.
hope for a couple of years good out of them, and, you know, if you want something lit, so.
Okay.
Eric, is the city gonna do it on the other 4 poles anyway?
No, I don't, there's no one in the city that has said, let's go do this. It was me bringing it up because Old Orchard was looking at this, and then I was driving by and I was like, oh, we got power boxes up there. So, you know, I was like, should we look at this? And I wanted to have enough time to get product here before Christmas, so.
I think garland with lights is.
It's sort of the happy medium.
Yes.
Simple and basic, and yeah, super easy.
And less expensive.
Right.
Well, wait a
See
second,
how
we
it
don't even
impacts
know if the city is gonna do the other 4. It might end
I
up.
think
being
If
2.
you want to do your 2, the city will do the other 4. So that's what I'm saying. The city's not gonna do the other 4 if you don't want to do your 2, so.
I mean,
that
I
idea.
just don't feel comfortable agreeing to spend city money right now with the deficit we're in. I don't want to make that decision.
So the city, I don't know if you read the Webster Times this last week, but they actually came up with a surplus this year.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, so they are doing they're doing much better than they predicted. Am I wrong on this?
No, we have a surplus coming out of this past year, a lot of one-time money, I'll say that. That doesn't mean there's still a structural issue to deal with, but it's much better than it was, so.
Thank you, Eric.
Yeah, so.
So I think that, I think that the amount that we're talking about now, if we're gonna just wrap some garland around and kind of matching our existing poles we have with just basic lights.
Yeah.
It's gonna be minuscule amount of money for us in the city. I mean. Less than one of our designer probably probably 1 or 2 of our 2-hour parking signs. Just 2 of them, and how many we have of those. So if we're looking at money spent wisely, then I think that I would vote to do.
Where's
it.
the money coming from?
The rooftop.
So
Where's
we would,
the money coming from?
yeah, so it would pull from your budget for the 2. I mean, you're probably talking 4 strands of Christmas lights, maybe just 2, you know. Home
But we
Depot-
just cut the budget of the Walktoberfest. So we're cutting the budget to buy this.
Okay. So.
I'm just
If
putting
we're
it
gonna
all
start
out
talking
there.
money, I'll be glad to start talking about the 2-hour parking signs, the money that costs.
I mean,
If you
so
really
many
want to
other
get down to
things we
nitty
need to
gritty
be.
for budgets. We're probably talking a couple $100
Okay,
is what I would guess. Maybe not even that much,
I mean, I think we'll probably end up, like I said, go to Home Depot and a hardware store and maybe $40 for your poles.
$40 per pole, so $80.
okay.
I think it's a good move, because we can see what the impact of that is. And decide if we want to do things bigger in the future. At least it gets us a start towards bringing some lighting on poles.
I like it.
I thought of this clock, possibly having power, you could probably do some decorations around the clock as well. Just another.
If we have to power into that clock, it changes the whole game about power on clock, possibly. We have to get power down there, so.
Okay, so I need a motion to,
A motion to approve the decoration of 2 poles with lights, garland, and a bow.
I'll second that.
okay, all in favor?
I
Opposed?
It was everybody. I was the second.
Is there a financial cap we're putting on it?
financial cap, I propose a financial cap of $500.
Second that. I think so. You second?
Did you hear that, Stacy?
Yeah.
Okay,
All in favor?
Favor 500,
Yep.
Aye.
yeah, aye.
all against?
Okay. Business license review update.
So I provided the budget last time. I don't know if there was more you wanted from that. Our business licenses came in a little better than expected, obviously. We appreciate everyone turning them in. We will, as I mentioned to the BDC and such, we are in the process of going to online business license renewals in the coming year, so you will all be able to do that online. We're also creating a calculator, because a lot of people, we've gotten a lot of questions as why is it this, right? And the business licenses work on much like your taxes. The general license, the first 2 million, it's $1, for every 1,000, and so we had a lot of people like about $500 short because they calculated, well, I make, let's just say 2.5 million in gross receipts. So they just took it times 75 cents per 1,000, not, the first 2 million at $1 per 1,000 and such. So just creating a quick basic calculator that'll include the district. You of course have 2 separate parts of the district in terms of business licenses. So that folks can easily just punch it in and see what they'll have. Not all the business districts overshot on the business license. I think Old Orchard was actually under on the business license. So we're reviewing that in terms of our budget estimate, and then also just is that indication of business is not being late for whatever reason. Obviously, state taxes and other issues. We understand businesses can be late at times.
Okay, any questions there? Okay. New business.
I'm just gonna touch on that real quick, and we don't even have to go into it. Have we ever power wash sidewalks in Old Webster?
Yes, but we're talking 25+ years ago.
I was just looking at sidewalks and just thinking, the stones that go around the trees, at least on Gore where I am. I mean, it's really pretty nice what's there. And if we were to power wash all that, I'm just wondering, you power wash your driveway and it can look a ton better. I'm just tough. I don't know what it would cost. I don't know anything. It was just a thought I had the other day.
Get some of the paint off.
Get some of the paint off.
Markings.
Yes.
Underground work.
Can I also ask, since we're talking about that, the grades around the trees are just like the squares around all the trees going up and down the sidewalk. Those are so overgrown and full of trash right now. Is there any
I do have a question.
volunteer group we need to get or something to?
Saw parks pulling weeds last week.
No, drive down. It's pretty bad. I looked at it this morning on my way here. The
Okay.
tree out front of me, I have to keep taking trash out, which is not a big, I don't mind doing it for my own building, but if it's like that everywhere, I can only imagine.
I do notice that there's some places that do take care of in front of their building and some places that don't.
Mhm.
I pick weeds out of that tree between our building all the time, Stacy, and try to keep it, when I see a random box in the middle of the street, I pick it up and throw it away. Some people
Yeah.
don't do that, but it's
But the
all
weeds.
of our jobs and all business, and picking weeds is a 1-second job,
I know, but it's all the way down. Like if you drive towards Rock Hill and you're coming up across the old Reliable Life building, those trees have pretty bad weeds in them right now. It just looks really overgrown.
So is that part of a plan to not have the grates anymore?
Some of them have been removed.
Some have been taken off, like
Right.
around the trees.
And
Some
they
have been
become-
put back on.
Let me say something. Some of the grates have been removed because their roots from the trees have raised the grates. And the city was going in and filling those with pea gravel and such to bring them up and keep them as kind of a hard surface to minimize the tripping hazard and such. Okay. Going back to when the city took over the maintenance of the business district. Prior to that, we had hired a person, and he came through here every day. He spent about I think we basically 20 hours a week or something, 15 to 20 hours a week. We paid him, and he blew the sidewalks off. He picked up the trash. He did the weeds in the grates. He weed killer in the sidewalks. Well, And when the Parks Department originally took that over, they had agreed to do all that. As time has gone on and different people in the Parks Department and costs have risen and such, a lot of that simple maintenance and such has disappeared. In the fall, Greg would blow the leaves and pick them up every couple weeks. None of that do I see any of that being done by the Parks Department anymore.
Which, do you know if that was, you don't know if that was like agreed on when we switched over to parks, do you? Like, was there an agreement on that of any sort?
There was an agreement at that time, but like I said, personnel has changed several times.
Mhm.
And costs have gone up and such.
And our landscaping has changed. We didn't have as many pots back then with plants in them. You know, what Greg was taking care of.
Actually, we probably had more pots and such then.
Greg did pots.
Oh, he would do all the plantings. He did 30 or 40 flats of impatiens and such and put them in the pots and such. He did all of that.
And watered every other day.
Watered every other day. Yeah, we bought at that time him a 300-gallon water tank
I remember that,
and
yeah.
such. For it.
Eric, do we have a defined scope of work with the Parks Department?
There's no defined agreement that is known, right? It's part of what the department's budget, obviously commodities, all those prices have gone up. And in general, yes, the services have changed that have been provided. And, you know, as every other street owner would know, it is the property owner's job to maintain all the way out through the right of way into the parking. So, I mean, when there's snow removal, leaf removal, weeding, things like that, on the sidewalk. So it is something the 3 business districts enjoy. The service is nowhere near the level that it was some years ago. It is definitely not. And from the city's perspective, I mean, it was a conscious, you know, every year, we don't have enough people or enough budget to be able to do all that. So, you know, it has changed.
What are our options, and maybe this is for subsequent years, but what are our options to revisit outside contractors to provide the service?
Certainly can look at that in any way that you want and talk about that. I don't think Parks Department is opposed to that if you want to go that route. There is the model that happens often, and you see this if you look downtown St. Louis. I'll just use they're right there, is that oftentimes special taxing districts essentially end up having ambassadors, you know, they take care of, pick up trash, you know, take care of weeds and things like that, that are oftentimes either they're a non-government organization that somehow is attached. So like the trade association, since you're right here, I'll use that. The trade association actually has an employee, like an ambassador type program that is cleaning up that the district is just funneling money into as part of the infrastructure improvement. That's certainly a legitimate, you know, area. The cost of a city employee doing that versus the cost of the private sector, because you know, if you have that outside entity doing that, it's a much cheaper option for for you all. And the benefit is if there is that NGA, the non-governmental agency on the side there, there's a whole load of workforce development type stuff, you know, some of that federal stuff that we could not be qualified for, that you may see people drawn in. So that's where a lot of those folks come in that pipeline. That's the bigger model you see in other places. I think it's, to be fair with everyone here, it's part of the city's strategic plan, not that specifically, but that longer term conversation about economic development. How do we help sort of prompt and promote that kind of thing? You know, because we don't have enough parks employees. Even if we had enough budget, we don't have enough people that we can find to do all the level of service that everyone wants through the business districts and in the parks.
Oh, so do we get some type of subsidy if we find our outside? Like an outside.
Basically, we have a
contractor to do
budget, which is $40-something thousand, which we pay parks to plant and do our work. So if we can find somebody to do the same amount of work for $40,000 and have the same type of stuff, that's what it would be.
And then, because it's a non-governmental agency that we would use, we would be able to access.
Right, so
outside
you
funds,
could go to a contractor, again, the general model you see in many downtown districts, when you talk about downtown improvements and things like that, you know, I think it's a SID or a bid down in downtown St. Louis, right? It's a separate agency, but there is, which is still a government agency, but there's a nonprofit side of that. The closest approximation you have right now is the trade association, right? They're a nonprofit entity that essentially, this gets to the memorandum of understanding and such that we briefly touched on, that we, need to ultimately come to a city and the trade association, and we'll work on, nothing late there. But it's, city saying, we'll move funds over. This is the organization that's in charge of beautification, cleaning up, things like that. This entity still exists, the trade association still exists. Just giving you a sense of that. It's just simply the government saying, we're not doing it, you're doing it, but we'll fund that. No different than we do now. We subsidize lots of things from the trade association, so.
So who would hold this person like this company accountable? This
So
table?
that's to the memorandum of understanding. So the city would have to have a solid memo of agreement with the trade association. I'm just using the trade association. I don't want to put you guys in and say you're doing this, but as an example, so there's a solid memo where we all agree on what the parameters are, but then ultimately the employee is not the city, right? I mean, if there's issues, it's, trade association or XYZ association. So that's sort of the standard model that seems to work in most places. Now, talk about money, that's, employees cost money, right? So I mean, you can spend 40,000 for just the employee, much less all the stuff they need to do. Yeah, so.
So all in favor of the power washing?
We should look at,
We separated from my power washing.
We had gotten an answer on that one time. It was extensive, but there seems to be a lot more companies now doing it than there used to be. So I think it's something that somebody can get an estimate on.
You want to reach out and just get a bid, just
Trade association volunteer workday.
I can love it.
right, just see what.
I mean, I would volunteer Josh to do it. He would love it, but he would need to be insured somehow.
Okay. There's a guy in Webster, in Kyle Road. Columbia Outdoors or something.
I'll call you. I'll talk to you.
Okay.
Yeah, let's just get a bid and see. I like the idea.
He has the equipment. I think they could do it.
Yeah, let's do that.
and
I have
Stacy
it.
also has, Josh is your husband, correct, Stacy? And that's what he does?
Yeah, he would do it just for free, but we would have to figure out if he damages something that he won't be held liable for it.
All right, did you get that on record? Because I just found the bid we're going with.
That is my husband's favorite thing to do. He's like, what, power wash? I'll do it. I can put my headphones on and nobody talks to me for 6 hours.
You get to use a power tool, yeah.
Yeah.
If, obviously, if that is the route, if insurance is an issue, it certainly is, you could say, have the city insure him, right, pay for that cost.
Okay,
But we would need, whoever the vendor is, needs to be insured. The city will not accept a vendor just power washing without a certificate.
Sure.
Right.
okay, right, okay.
So just to touch on power washing, would be all of our district, so it's not just certain areas, it would be
Yeah.
the whole.
Large.
It's gonna be more than 6
Frankie,
hours.
are you talking Josh out of this right now?
Well, I'm just making sure that the
He's gonna
scope
watch
is
this.
clarified before
It's already in the notes. Rand's got it down.
I'll tell you, it's not gonna be 6 hours.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a lot of street you guys have, so.
Yeah, so there's a lot more to that.
Yeah, it's several days.
Mhm.
Yeah.
By,
No, seriously, we need to go find somebody. I was just joking. Obviously.
the power wash in the ground is water supply.
Yeah.
Right, you would need,
I
we need
think,
to have the fire department put apps and meters on the.
You could tap into our water.
well, yeah,
I mean, that
For-
that would reach,
More
we
tank
have
truck.
Gore covered.
not necessarily, you got a couple of feet all the way up there.
Morty's got it up top.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got it covered.
But it's, most of these people, they have to have water tanks too.
We'll let them bid that. That will be part of their bid.
Let's move on again, sorry. Just another thing to discuss. So there, Eric, I don't know, the bench that's across, that's by Schraub's, across the street from Parkmore, it has to go. I mean, if you take it, I mean, it's
The
destroyed.
middle one, they didn't take that out, okay.
No, it is, you know.
We'll get rid of it.
Right, I mean, it just has to, I'd like for it to be replaced, because it looks like it's the most used bench in Webster. I mean, I went and Dan and I both did an extensive look at benches. And looked at all of them. And there are some with some cracked wooden ones, the older ones with plastic, there has some cracked slats. Nothing is in disrepair, I mean, nothing's even remotely close to that one.
Dangerous.
It is, yeah, right, so, on our parking pad, up there at the concrete park.
Yes.
There are 3 benches there. I don't know that there needs to be 3 benches there, now how they laid it out. Take one of those and move it over there. It may look a little funny, possibly, I don't know, but I do think that it looks like that bench gets used I just don't know how.
Which bench is it?
The one in front of Straub's, right across. the
Mid
street.
block, right in front of Straub's.
Yeah, I mean, it is just, yeah.
It has been since my time here, since May of 2021, that bench. I mean, I sat on it my first day working here and I was like, oh, Lord, we gotta change this, so.
Right,
Yeah.
right, so,
I'll look at it today. I'll go up there.
oh, it's horrific. I mean, it's just,
We must have looked at it.
we did look at it, yeah, oh no, it's.
So my
got-
question is, why hasn't it been fixed yet?
Okay, well, we're working on that, and so,
I mean, that was 3 years ago. We've noticed that this has been an issue.
right, so,
Okay.
yeah, so, yeah, so that it. Does anyone have any thoughts about moving another bench over that way?
Well, I don't want to turn this into a 20-minute conversation, but I think we need to go back to our original style benches. And I think as we replace benches, we should put in the new style. And if we replace a good new steel benches, they can be placed other places in Webster. And replaced, when another place needs a bench, they can pull that up and we bring up our original style, which was called for in our development protocols when we were redeveloping the area. So I would propose if we go with a new bench that we bring in one of the original style benches and can start our replacement to reflect what was intended for our area.
I would check and see if they, either Parks or Public Works has any other old benches or anything or parts over there to fix this, replace this in that place.
It does look like to me, and I don't know this for sure, and only Parks can answer that, but when some of those benches were replaced with the plastic one, or replaced with metal ones. I didn't go around and do like Dan and I did count, okay, this one has 3 slightly cracked slats, they're probably okay, but they're, you know, we gotta kind of start watching them. It does look like a lot of the benches are in pretty decent shape besides that one, so I don't know that Parks already didn't do that. They may not have, they may have, but we should ask them if they have, but that bench can't be fixed, just so
Oh,
you
yeah,
know.
no, I'm not
That one
saying
can't
that.
be fixed.
No, but I'm saying when they replace some of these other benches, they may have, well, like at the concrete park. There were benches there. What did they do with those?
Right, no, absolutely, there were ones in front of, you know,
Do we know how many of the wood slatted benches are still around this town?
Yeah, you've got a number.
I do, I'm afraid I don't have.
It's
it with
around
me.
6 to 7.
Did you write their locations out?
I
so we
did,
know?
I have everything
Okay.
written, I just don't have it here and I'm sorry, so.
Well,
um,
no, it's no work.
But I will,
Why don't
next
you-
meeting, I will have a list of, I also started delving into how many pots we have around the city and our district. I went through a Google Maps search of 2021 and did a count of pots back then as well and looked at, said, hey, here's what it was, here's what it is now, and I'll have that information for you at next meeting. And this is not gonna change anything tomorrow, it never does. But for future, we'll be able to start getting our ducks in a row for next.
I'll call
Should
Parks
we
and see.
vote to remove that bench so nobody does get hurt and it becomes?
That's what we're doing. That's what I just asked if Eric could do. We just need to, it needs to go away for sure. And then we need to try to, I think it's a good place for a bench. People waiting for restaurant tables to open up and such like that. It's, I mean, it seems like it's the most used bench ever.
There's kids on that bench all day long.
Is it kids? Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I can't. So, okay. Any other new business?
Wait, do we need a vote to have the bench removed? Or are they
No,
just
I
gonna
don't think
do
we need to
it?
vote. We don't need to vote on that. no.
Okay, Eric, can you have them remove the bench for sure?
Yep.
Okay, I can't see him, so I don't see a
Oh,
nod. or-
okay, all right. Yeah, he's nodding yes.
Okay,
Okay, so any other new business? BDC update?
Fran, we just continued talking about our coffee, right,
Yes, the date is set, which is August 30th
for the next one?
for the next one. We talked about the format. And they meet this week and they're gonna be talking about specific action items for that meeting. But they put together all the feedback and looked at common threads and tried to prioritize and what things they can affect that don't belong to them, they like refer it to the Traffic Advisory Commission, for example. And then focused on things that they can have an impact on.
There are some of those things that came up with business coffee that are specific to your district, ones you've heard many times, the potential of a crosswalk near your place there at Gore, across Gore mid-block where Moody comes off and such. So you'll be getting a letter from the BDC saying, we heard these, notifying you of what they heard, sort of referring it over to you all. Not with any need for action, just,
Right.
they're doing their job, passing it on to the appropriate place.
So. Any update, Officer Rasul?
No, I'm still here.
Everything's good?
Yep.
Working days,
Good days.
yeah.
I do have to
That's
say,
good, that's good.
I would like to extend that BDC coffee invite to you guys. I think that it'd be nice to see, the taxing districts there too, and we'll talk about that a little bit at BDC on Thursday, but
I
it'd be
agree.
awesome to see you guys there at the coffee. August 30th, save the date.
Okay, city update.
I'm going to turn it to Councilmember Smith, but just a quick heads up that I have not heard anything from Straub's, the idea that I mentioned at the special meeting about the potential moving some 2-hour parking into orange permit parking. So I have not heard any request to come talk with you all or continue along that conversation. Okay, so Councilmember Smith?
Thank you, Eric. Just two things I have for you. First, going back to the excess we had in the budget for last year, it was just one-time shot. So we're still working to get out of the structural deficit that we're in. So I was afraid to put that in the paper. People don't think we've just flushed with cash and we can do a whole lot of stuff, but we really can't. The only other thing I have is that on our last council meeting, we adopted the city's strategic plan. It was a little bit different from the last that was posted out there. It was just goals with no actions behind it, but we have a full strategic plan for the city that includes all of the different departments. And so they created their tactics. And the city council, we created, the goals themselves. So we're pleased that is now on the city's website. It is on the website, right, Eric?
It is, yes. So we'll send it out to everyone. So.
Yeah, go out and take a look at it to see where we're headed. So I have nothing else unless someone has a question.
I'm grateful that you sat in on this meeting. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, say it again.
I'm grateful that you sat in on this meeting and I like that you came to this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so next meeting is gonna be. We have a date on that, August
20 something.
I think August is historically the month that gets taken off if you want to take it off. So that's why it doesn't see there. But if you want to take it off, you can. Otherwise, we'll have it on a normal date, which should be.
I think we've always met in August. We take out.
I mean, just in general, August becomes the month that commissions take off. So
Okay.
Historically, in this commission, if anything, would have been July.
22nd.
Okay, does anyone have any? Should we meet on the 22nd?
Yes.
I think so,
Yes,
yes,
I think
yes.
we have plenty of.
Yes.
Okay,
Just a little thing called Jazz Fest.
Yes.
yeah, that's true,
Right,
right,
the last update on that.
right, that'd be great, okay, and that's all going well.
Yeah.
Going very well.
They haven't met with the city yet, though. I'm sure we'll find a way to confound issues, so.
I don't think so. We just need you to volunteer all day like.
Yeah, right, yeah.
All right, thank you, everybody, for coming, appreciate it.
Thanks.
Have a good day.
All right.